This is a practical, basic introduction to beginner's meditation. Let's begin with why one would want to start meditating in the first place. Meditation can be a powerful tool. I've noticed its benefits after only a short time learning to meditate. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Meditation just helps me stay calm whenever I'm starting to feel anxious. I notice I'm able to stay level-headed and more relaxed in conversations that might otherwise stress me out if I've been meditating. Things that would annoy me I find easier to brush off. In my head, I imagine myself standing in a torrential downpour, with meditation acting as a sort of a rain jacket. Helps beat up and push off the water that ordinarily would get to me. Considering a presidential election is coming up shortly, I recommend you start trying meditation as well. I know I'm going to be holding on to it. So, whether to help curb anxiety or something else, and there's plenty of other reasons to meditate, you want to start. But how and when? First, I'd say start now. Like literally right after this video is over and you have a good idea of what you want to get out of it. There are endless introductory courses that are all free on YouTube, on other podcast streaming services, on third-party apps, and honestly, they're probably all great. I have a recommendation that I'll get to in a little bit, but for now, just know that there's an infinite amount of ways to try meditation, and all of them are free. Well, not all of them are free, but I don't recommend you paying for any sort of subscription-based meditation service when there's wonderful free alternatives. First, though, start small. Start with just 5 or 10 minutes a day. You don't even have to stay consistent. If you miss 1 or 2 days here or there, or even a week or a month, it doesn't really matter. Like, beginning to meditation is A, a big part of the battle, and B, is a lot more important than not meditating at all. The difference between nothing and even a little is pretty big. Second, stick to guided meditations. You don't need to go all zen and sit in a field with just the sound of wind for 6 hours in order to get the benefits. Like, would that work? Sure, probably, but start by trying to gain the smallest amount of control over your mind and then go from there. This guide is specifically for that first step. All the power to you if you can sit in a field for 6 hours, but I certainly can't help get you there. Common excuses. The first one is that you don't have enough time. I'm not going to do the staple thing where I tell you to pull out your phone and look at your screen time and then honestly tell me that you have not 10 minutes to spare for your mental health in even a few days out of the week. I'm not going to do that, but I'm sure if you pull it. Another common excuse is you don't have a place to focus. The thing I found with meditation is that you don't actually need a special place to focus. The whole point of meditating is to get better at calming down and not letting things distract you. And so if you need a special room with a small waterfall and lights all perfectly dimmed and everything, it's kind of defeating the point. The first few times you meditate, I do recommend you doing it in a somewhat quieter place, like not in the park or in a cafe. But beyond that, you really can meditate anywhere. Meditating when not meditating. This sounds counterintuitive, but bear with me. I mentioned that meditation helps me stay calm and slow down anxious thoughts. When I was a child, I learned to count to 10 whenever I was starting to get angry, if like someone stole a toy from me or something like that. I obviously don't do that anymore, and I feel like very few people do, but meditation is something similar. Meditation makes it easier for me to remember like internal tranquility, whatever that means. I've noticed that things that used to bother me in the past, like relatives commenting on my love life, or friends asking me for favors like I didn't just put friends in quotation marks for them specifically, things like that just don't bother me as much when I've been meditating. So I've noticed that even when I'm not actively meditating, meditation seeps its way into other areas of my life to my benefit. What app should you use when you start and why? I recommend the Waking Up app. There's tons of other ones like Calm and Headspace and other free ones as well. Smiling Mind and Healthy Minds program both also seem great, but the Waking Up app worked really well for me, and I'll explain why. First off, they have this introductory course that goes through the theory and practical side of meditation. So you do a 30-day daily meditation, and you don't actually have to do it in 30 days, you just have to get through each of the 30 introductory sessions, all of which are like 10 minutes long, before you unlock like all of the features of the app. This is really helpful because it goes over the theory behind what you're doing as well, so you kind of get an understanding for why you're doing specific things, which helped me because it allows me to focus on the types of meditations that I actually enjoy and kind of ignore the ones that I don't find as practical for me in my daily life. After you complete the introductory course, you have a daily meditation timer that's incredibly versatile. You can adjust it from like 10 minutes to 3 hours in 1 minute increments. You can add different bells and countdown timers that are really quite peaceful to help you like get a gauge for where in your daily meditation you are. You can make it guided or unguided. You can add background noise or background music depending on your taste. It's really quite customizable, which is super helpful. Additionally, there's like a dozen or so other teachers who go through a wide variety of different meditation techniques. So there's meditations for walking, for falling asleep, for considering productivity, and a bunch of others. I will say I do have one issue with the app, which is that when you meditate, I like to track and see how much I've been meditating on my phone with the health app, and it is integrated with the iPhone's health app, but what tends to happen is if I stop the meditation early, it won't track the meditation session at all. So for example, if I start a 20-minute meditation and meditate for 19 minutes, then it won't count anything. But then if, say the next day I finish that last 1 minute and then do another meditation, it'll count that as one 20-minute meditation plus whatever additional meditation I do that day, which is just a bit annoying in terms of tracking. Essentially, I use the Waking Up app because it's free, which is super great. Smiling Mind and Healthy Minds program are two other free apps that I've heard good things about. Try them all out and let me know which one you like the best. Basics for staying consistent. When you first start out, focus on meditating in the morning. There's a few reasons for this. It's much easier to make the time to practice meditation in the morning because you're not exhausted after a long day of working or class or whatever you have in your actual day-to-day life, presumably the reasons why you're meditating, to deal with. Whenever I get back from a long day out, I feel pretty tired and you can barely motivate me to shower, much less sit and be alone with my own thoughts for like 15 minutes. It's not gonna happen in the evening. So I recommend it in the morning. I will say it's nice to do something before you start meditating because otherwise you'll just be super groggy and it's not quite as helpful. So focus on trying to meditate after showering or after a quick breakfast in the morning. That way you're awake and alert, but you haven't become exhausted from all of the things you have to deal with during the day. If you have wandering thoughts or you're bored during meditation, what should you do? Honestly, that's just part of meditating. It's like reading and then being surprised that there are words. It's just part of the game. Specifically, don't be too hard on yourself if your mind wanders or if you get bored. Again, it's part of it. What you should do is acknowledge it, notice that you're feeling bored or your mind has wandered, and then just recenter yourself. I found that guided meditations are really helpful because they kind of can stop me from going off on a mental tangent that I don't even realize I'm doing when I'm trying to meditate. In conclusion, start meditating tonight or tomorrow morning with a guided meditation app to help you be less anxious and focus more on living in the moment. Now get to it.